Sometimes you miss the bus, but when is the last time the bus missed you? Well, you won't miss these shiny overchrome bad boys, because welcome everyone to episode 79 of the Automotive History series, where we hop on the sightseeing tour that's the golden age of coach traveling, a time of bizarre buses and crazy customized coaches. I hear you think, has this channel turned into Ed's bus reviews now? No. Don't worry, not really, because I don't know a whole lot about buses as I do with cars, but I can appreciate a vintage bus every once in a while. That being said, in this video we're going to focus on coaches, or motor coaches, and not buses. So I'm not talking about your average city bus with inexplicable stains in the seats and the occasional hobo riding all the way in the back, but about long-distance coaches, luxury liners for long-distance traveling and vacations. See, the golden age of these coaches was during the 1950s and 60s in Europe. Why? Well, this was the time period between the rebuilding years right after the Second World War in the late 1940s and the post-war economic boom many European countries experienced in the second half of the 1960s. During this time, most families experienced increased income and a rise of consumerism. But, as always, money was tight. So, even if Dad was given a raise, it was still a matter of choice what we're going to spend the money on. Like, are we going to get a refrigerator? This new thing called a TV, or a car, or a nice little holiday. We certainly can't have everything at once, so we have to make choices. We can go on vacation this year, but that means that we have to save up for a car next year. Although car ownership exploded among Europeans during the 1960s, the car wasn't affordable for everyone. And so, to still enjoy some form of freedom and be able to travel and visit other places, the long-distance coach services were a great alternative and a great way to go on vacation. Enter the coach. These were magnificent buses with an impressive size and styling, with quite a few amenities on board to make traveling as comfortable as possible, like extra legroom, adjustable seats, food and beverage services, air conditioning system, lots of glass areas for great views, sliding roofs, and maybe even onboard entertainment with a TV, and sometimes sleeping options, so that you can get to your destination completely relaxed and in utmost comfort. This was luxury traveling, like riding in a limousine with your own personal chauffeur, but with a few extra strangers on it. The industry usually worked like this. Private tour operators would buy commercial trucks or bus chassis from established car makers because they appreciated the ruggedness, the reliability, or the engine performance. These chassis would then be sent to literal coach builders, who then designed and built a custom body on top of the chassis. And since these coaches were quite luxurious on the inside, then why wouldn't you try to show this off on the outside with a lavish design? And so most of these coaches from the 50s and the 60s were rolling pieces of art. Considering buses are on the bigger side, there is plenty of metal real estate that you can throw some shiny ornamentation on. But there was one company in particular that took it to insane levels. Ayats, a Spanish coach builder, or bus builder if you will. But in the 1950s, this company produced some crazy designs, heavily influenced by American cars at the time. So they get their chassis from fellow Spanish company Pegaso, do their magic, and then sell it to whoever needs a coach. And before I'm going to show them to you, I can't stress this enough that these are not AI-generated images. It's awful already that I have to mention it these days, but these buses are real. We start off easy with this one. Much of the front end is taken up by a massive grille and chrome trim to the side. Since the chrome trim and bumper are slightly rounded, this design is obviously inspired by the 1949 Cadillacs. The grille is double the height of the Caddy grille with 4 bars instead of 2. Also, it's a bit hard to see, but the two-tone color scheme on the side of the bus follows a similar line as that of early 1950s Buicks, with the so-called sweep spear, where the line goes over the front wheels, slowly slopes down, and sweeps up over the rear wheels again. But just as much as American cars in the 50s quickly evolved into crazy space-age styling, so did these Spanish buses. And here's another one, once again heavily inspired by Cadillac. It's hard to see, but the giveaway are the slightly hooded headlights and the angled Dagmar bumpers, as is obviously styled after the 1957 Cadillacs. And here's another one. This time, the styling is inspired by a lesser-known American car maker, Nash. The stacked dual headlights and grille are taken directly from a 1957 Nash. Notice it isn't just the styling, it also looks very American with these elaborate chrome hubcaps and white wall tires. I mean, who the hell puts white walls under a bus? And is it only the front end that's given an American look? Absolutely not. Even the rear end features car-like styling. Instead of putting a bunch of round taillights on the back of a bus and calling it a day, the entire rear end is reworked to make it look like the rear end of an American passenger car. So if you'd ever wondered if buses came with tail fins, then yes, they did. In this case, I'd like to bet my money on the 1957 Chevrolet, as you can tell by the taillights curving over the rear exhausts. Which is interesting, as the front end is not inspired by Chevrolet, but by a 1958 Oldsmobile. You can tell by the way the headlights are squeezed by the rocket-shaped trim over the side of the vehicle. But it gets worse, trust me. Of all the possible American cars you could choose from during those years to throw at the bus, you chose an Edsel, one of the most mocked car designs ever and considered the ugliest from the 1950s. Sure, the vertical grille isn't exactly a 101 copy, but the rest is, like the little side grilles and the dual headlight pods just above it. A touch of French Citroen chevrons in the grille complete the cross-Atlantic look. But the Spanish are not the only ones making these outlandish buses. There were plenty of other European bus builders that did similar stuff, like this Citroen right here, or at least it was built on a Citroen chassis. Or what about this bad boy? Running on a 1952 Dodge truck chassis, this one was built by the Belgian coach builder Van Hol, and features a bizarre design that copies the 1951 General Motors Le Sabre show car, or concept car. This car made quite an impression on the big car shows across the globe, that it inspired a few companies to build a tribute. And so, yes, this coach also comes with tail fins. It's essentially a bussified version of the Le Sabre concept car. By the 1960s, American car design shifted away from the googie space-age styling to more understated and square modernist look. Not exactly the right fit for a rather round bus, don't you think? Absolutely not, because you can still dump the front end of an Oldsmobile on a bus. It's like the Oldsmobile has been swallowed by a giant monster frantically trying to escape through its mouth. Help! Anyway, as you can see, the total package isn't exactly a marriage made in heaven. The body lines don't really match, and so either by a lack of pictures or because of other reasons, the trend of designing these outlandish buses vanished over time. By the late 60s, 70s and 80s, most coaches featured still plenty of bright colors and some ornamentation, but it was a lot more toned down and simpler than the buses we just looked at. It's really interesting to see that the Europeans, and particularly the Spanish of all nations, managed to make such overstyled and overchromed beasts. We're almost talking about Chinese levels of blatant copycat styling. If anything, it's usually the Europeans that like to stay away from this cheap bling bling. And it's even more interesting that the average American coach at the time looked okay, but nothing out of the ordinary. You'd expect a coach like this to come from the US, and not the EU. But let's take it one step further, because if the coach brings tourists from far and wide to their destination, then a new industry emerged at this popular tourist destination, which are the sightseeing buses. You know, those buses that drive around old cities to show you all the highlights. Most of the time, these were double-decker buses with lots of glass for great views. Either both floors were covered or the top floor was uncovered, like you see on those London buses. Particularly because England is blessed with and renowned for its great sunshiny weather year-round. But there was one particular tour bus that takes the cake. It's an absolute pièce de résistance de France, the Citroen Currus Cityrama. So, as we learned from this video, a bus that rides on a Citroen chassis, features bodywork by Currus, and is operated by the Cityrama tour operator. Look at this whale of a vehicle. I didn't know the Notre Dame cathedral was made out of glass and could move, but apparently here we are. It's a massive double-decker bus, almost completely made out of glass. It's been said that the lower part of the vehicle was designed after the many tourist boats going up and down the Seine River, explaining the unusual styling. And to keep it all together, a massive red handlebar-like wing folds over the entire structure. At the front we find a massive impaling hood ornament, or is it a roof ornament? It certainly looks like nothing else on the road. On board, it also had a party trick, an integrated headphone system that came in 8 languages, quite a novelty at the time. The bus also came with a few downsides, as I believe a heating system was hardly available or needed. It was an unofficial contest who overheated first, the bus or its passengers. Seriously, on hot and sunny days the temperature became unbearable as the bus lacked any form of air conditioning and you were cooked alive in the glass cabin. At first, a few buses were fitted with only one grille, but after overheating, a second grille was added. But after overheating, a third grille was added. One bus caught even fire once. Because of this, Cityrama stopped ordering extra buses, but the ones that were in service did it for a very long time, all the way until the 1980s. And they weren't exactly rare either. From various films and amateur footage, you can see a few of these rolling up and down Paris streets. I also cordially invite you to watch some of the videos made by fellow YouTube channel The Tim Traveler as he goes deeper into these buses, as well as actually showing you a real example that survived. Dear ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our little sightseeing tour regarding the golden age of European coaches. I'm aware there is only a few choices when it comes to automotive history and entertainment, so thank you for choosing Buzz Reviews. Hope you enjoyed your tour, and please make sure to take your belongings with you when you leave, and hope to see you next time, when we talk about cars again. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. If you wish to know more about the Tim Traveler's videos about the Cityrama bus, click the video in the top left. If you wish to know more about overchromed American cars from the 50s, click the video in the bottom left.